do CPR. I can't.
Okay, listen to me. Your wife is not breathing? Tell me exactly what happened. She passed away? Listen. Are you with her right now? Okay, is she awake right now?
No.
Is she breathing? Okay, listen. Is she breathing?
No, I tried to do CPR. I can't get her to breathe.
The panicked voice on the phone belongs to David Tronnes. He'd just found his wife, Shanti Cooper-Tronnes, unresponsive in the shower of their garage apartment. Despite performing CPR, he couldn't get her to respond. When investigators arrived at the scene, little did they know they weren't walking into a tragic accident. They were stepping into a meticulously staged crime scene.
It was a violent attack of several blow after blow after blow.
It was a brutal beating and a brutal strangulation.
As layers of deception and dark secrets came to light, one chilling truth began to surface. Grief can be faked. Panic can be performed. But medical science doesn't lie. And at the center of it all was a dream home renovation that turned into a deadly obsession. It all began on the evening of April 24, 2018, with a frantic 911 call. As detectives from Orlando Police Department arrived at the Tronnes residence, they found Shanti lying on a mattress pad on the floor next to the bed in their garage apartment. Her body was already in full rigor mortis, and her right arm elevated off the ground, clearly indicating she had been dead for some time. Beneath her was a mattress pad soaked in blood. Detectives also noted that Shanti's clothes were only slightly damp, not fully soaked as one would expect if she had been submerged in water. In fact, only her hair appeared wet. This contradicted David's claim that he found her in the shower under running water. As detectives began their investigation, they initially considered the possibility of a burglary.
We need to know, is there anyone in this neighborhood? Anyone that might have been at the home for construction purposes or for delivery purposes, or a transient that's walking through?
But that theory quickly fell apart. There were no signs of forced entry, such as broken glass, damaged locks, or pry marks on the door, and nothing in the home appeared disturbed.
But when they searched the apartment that day, it became clear that there was a lot of property that would easily be taken of high value that just simply wasn't taken. Her earrings, her diamond earrings were present, one in her ear, one on her nightstand.
Why wasn't the diamond earring stolen if it was a robbery? Why wasn't the cash that was in plain view stolen? Why wasn't her iMac computer, her son's game box, the television, her watch, her phone, her wallet, her credit cards? Everything's in plain view.
The only item of value found missing was Shanti's $15,000 engagement ring.
This was a custom ring, and she just glowed about it and always wore it and just loved to show it.
Months later, the detectives would find it hidden in the most obvious place, waiting to tear apart a carefully constructed story. As investigators dug deeper into the home, they uncovered a series of unsettling details. While the bed was made with brand new crease sheets, bloodstains were found on the bed's side rails and wooden slats. Forensic analysis later confirmed the blood contained DNA from both Shanti and David. In the bathroom, diluted blood streaks in the tub and on the wall suggested a cleanup attempt, though the tub itself was dry, as were the surrounding floor and bath mat. Drag marks and scrapes on Shanti's legs indicated she had been moved, yet no blood trail connected the bathroom to her final position. The autopsy later confirmed that she had been strangled and suffered severe blunt force trauma, including 2 skull fractures, ruling out a fall or natural causes.
The attack was so brutal that it blew a hole in her cheek, ripped off portions of her ear, fractured the back of both of her eye sockets, and broke her nose.
However, the most significant detail that the autopsy report revealed was that Shanti had been dead for several hours by the time David called 911. All the evidence made one thing clear.
It was very evident that this was not an accidental death. This wasn't a natural death. This was a murder.
But who was Shanti Cooper-Tronnes, and how did she meet such a cruel fate? Determined to understand the dynamics of Shanti and David's relationship, detectives began digging into their lives. What they uncovered painted a picture far more complicated than anyone had expected. Born on January 22, 1979, Shanti was a devoted mother, a successful entrepreneur, and a deeply loved friend.
Beautiful young lady, full of life, very strong type A personality.
Described as ambitious, focused, and relentlessly driven, she thrived in the world of finance and technology. After working in the software industry for 7 years, Shanti launched her own financial software business. Working from her home office, she built a strong reputation among clients for being sharp, dependable, and highly professional. Her proudest role, however, was being mom to her son Jackson, born in 2010. Her life revolved around him, and she never missed a moment with him.
She was a great mom, and she was a very good person. We went to a lot of theme parks. There's an aquarium downtown, and that was really fun. We went to the movies a lot, and just like normal day-to-day basis, talking with her, just having a good time.
Shanti met David Tronnes online in 2013 through Match.com. The same year, she divorced her first husband, Jim Cooper. David was from St. Paul, Minnesota, and also recently divorced. Their connection moved quickly, and within months, David relocated from Minnesota to Orlando to be with Shanti.
She gushed about him. She was just like, he treats me so great. He, dotes on me, and he would, be very affectionate.
Shanti and Dave were overly affectionate to the point where it was almost like gross. It was a little nauseating at times.
David portrayed himself as charming, cultured, and self-assured. He also claimed to be financially independent, living off an inheritance of $4 to $6 million from his father's estate. In February 2015, David purchased a large 4,400 square foot historic fixer-upper home in Delaney Park for approximately $600,000 in cash.
It was a lovely historic home. It was about 100 years old. One of the most appealing and beautiful homes on our street.
It had wood floors, it had a tile roof, it had a gorgeous pool. It was totally a dream home. When Shanti came and saw the house, she loved it.
However, the property was purchased under a trust that included David and his mother, but not Shanti. Despite this, Shanti, who was absolutely smitten with David, moved into the house along with her son, Jackson. Their plan was to renovate and modernize it over time. In February 2017, Shanti and David were married, making what she hoped would be the start of a stable and loving life together. But it didn't take long for cracks to appear. The home, which had once seemed like a dream project, quickly turned into a source of mounting stress.
David's job basically was to be the contractor for this renovation. He had convinced her that he knew what he was doing. And after hiring and firing subcontractors for almost 2 years, I think she realized he did not know what he was doing.
The house, while impressive from the outside, was a complete mess on the inside. The interior had been completely gutted, with walls, ceilings, and flooring torn down to the studs. The damage was so extensive that concerns were raised about the structural integrity of the property. At one point, the only thing holding the structure together was 2 inches of stucco on the exterior walls.
To take out the whole interior is just, I can't even explain. It's crazy.
Eventually, only the upstairs bedroom and garage apartment were livable. Shanti and Jackson lived upstairs, while David stayed in the garage. They no longer shared a bedroom. While David obsessed over the renovation, Shanti was left to handle everything else, running her company, raising her son, and covering every expense on her own. She poured over $250,000 into the renovation. David, who had previously worked in sales at 3M, was unemployed and showed little interest in finding work or contributing financially to support Shanti.
The story that we were told by Shanti, when she first met Dave, he was a millionaire. The question always came up, if Dave has all this money, why doesn't Dave help out buy anything? I mean, you go to buy a TV, oh, Shanti, you got this.
As the home became more and more unlivable, tensions between David and Shanti grew. They argued frequently about the stalled construction, the deteriorating state of the house, and Shanti's lack of legal ownership of the property. By early 2018, Shanti was emotionally, financially, and mentally drained. The house was a disaster, the relationship was deteriorating, and Shanti was running out of patience and time.
One of her friends told us that Shanti called her one day crying and said, "I'm so scared, I just need to get out." Why would she say, "I need to get out"? Why did she say she was scared? Something happened. She saw a side of him, perhaps, that scared her.
Amidst the growing frustration over the condition of their home, David Tronnes learned about a television show called Zombie House Flipping. He got in touch with Keith Ory, a local contractor who was involved with the show and consulting on their home.
Dave just called me on the phone and asked if I'd come by and take a look at the project. He said that they had done some work. I wasn't at all prepared for what I saw when I got there. They had fully disassembled this house to a degree that I'd never seen before. It was rather astonishing. It was largely wide open, like you're inside of a giant shoebox.
In March 2018, David and Shanti received news that their renovation project had been selected to appear on Zombie House Flipping, and filming was expected to begin in early May. While David was over the moon about this opportunity, Shanti did not share this excitement. She saw the renovation and its publicity as an additional strain rather than a new beginning. To move forward with production, Keith insisted on meeting with both David and Shanti to ensure they were aligned and committed. This meeting was difficult to schedule, but eventually took place about a week before Shanti's death. At that meeting, Shanti was upstairs in her room and initially didn't want to come down. When she finally did, she was disengaged, dismissive, and uninterested in the project. She listened briefly, refused to sit down, and abruptly went back upstairs before the meeting was over. Shanti's refusal to participate in the show marked a major turning point in their already crumbling relationship. Both Shanti and David had finally reached their limit, and their marriage was beyond repair. Later, after Shanti Cooper-Tronnes' death, the Department of Children and Family Services conducted an interview with her 8-year-old son, Jackson, as part of the broader investigation. During that interview, the full extent of the domestic violence inside the home came to light.
They would get into really, really bad arguments, like screaming. Like, I could be upstairs and they could be in the backyard and I could hear them screaming at each other.
There was domestic violence going on in the house, physical, mental, verbal. I was not aware of any of that, and he never told me any of that. He witnessed it. That's how I found out.
He'd get extremely mad. He'd threaten me, scream at me, hurt me, break my stuff.
The information Jackson provided gave investigators deeper insight into the toxic environment Shanti had been trying to manage. And this simmering tension ultimately reached its final, tragic conclusion on April 24, 2018. The fateful day began like a typical day in the Tronnes household. Shanti came downstairs sometime after 7 a.m. to smoke a cigarette, as was her custom. She had a 10 a.m. dental appointment for a cracked tooth, but was unsure about going. After smoking, she told David that she wanted to sleep longer and went back upstairs. Around 9:15 a.m., she came downstairs again and started getting ready for her appointment. David left for his walk around 9:25 a.m. and returned home around 10:45 a.m. Since both the Lexus and the RAV4 were still parked outside, he assumed that Shanti had skipped her dental appointment. But he didn't go upstairs to check on her. Instead, he spent the morning walking and feeding the dogs, taking renovation measurements in the main house, and cleaning the courtyard and pool area. He told detectives it was typical for them not to communicate much during the workday when Shanti was focused on clients, so he did not text or call her. It wasn't until sometime after 3 p.m. that David finally went upstairs to check on Shanti, primarily to ask if he should pick up Jackson from school since he hadn't seen her to leave to do it. Upon entering the garage apartment, he heard the sound of running water coming from the bathroom. He called out to Shanti, but received no response, so he walked toward the bathroom. The moment David opened the door, he saw Shanti lying face down in the bathtub with one leg sticking out. The tub was partially full and tinged with blood. Panicked, David quickly turned off the water and tried to pull Shanti out of the tub. But the combination of her wet clothes and the awkward position made it difficult. After several attempts, he finally managed to drag her into the main living area and began performing CPR. He also noticed she was bleeding from the side of her head and face, with a visible cut on her cheek and bruising around her eye. So he used a towel to wipe the blood and placed a mattress pad beneath her body before finally calling 911. As investigators began examining the available evidence, their attention quickly turned to David Tronnes. He was the last known person to see Shanti alive, and his story was filled with numerous inconsistencies that were hard to ignore. David, however, appeared calm and cooperative. He voluntarily agreed to be questioned at the Orlando Police Headquarters, where he submitted to a mouth swab, provided fingernail clippings, and even permitted a full body inspection for injuries.
The detectives knew that Shanti had been attacked and that it was a brutal, vicious attack. David was willing and showed the detectives his body that didn't show scratch marks, claw marks, something that would be consistent with a person attacking or defending themselves.
When questioning began, detectives Teresa Sprague and Barb Sharp strategically adopted a sympathetic approach. They were highly skilled at building rapport and possessed extensive experience in handling such delicate situations.
First of all, on behalf of the Orlando Police Department, we want to say how sorry we are for your loss, David, and also for everything that you're going through. I know this is very traumatic for you, okay? And it's just a terrible, terrible thing.
With the suspect willing to talk, detectives decided to allow David to speak freely. He appeared eager to share his version of the events, readily offering a detailed timeline of the hours leading up to Shanti's death. It quickly became clear he was attempting to control the narrative, doing everything possible to distance himself from suspicion.
What happens when you enter the home? Is anything unusual?
So I could hear the water is running. It's not like the sound of a shower running. It's trickling out of the spout. When we step in, we always say hello at the bottom of the stairs. So I listen, because if she's on the phone with a work call, I don't announce myself. I just walk upstairs. I didn't hear her. I could hear the water. I couldn't hear her.
Because you heard the water and didn't hear her, you felt something was wrong?
I went upstairs. I don't hear her talking on the phone. So I say hello. I don't hear anything then. I can hear water running. She's not saying anything. Doesn't seem right. Sometimes it is hard if you have the water running to hear somebody out there, so that was my assumption.
Okay, so it's one room. You don't see her?
Okay.
Is the bathroom door open or closed?
Open.
Open? Okay. So you walk toward the water that you're hearing?
Yeah, looking at the bathroom.
Okay. And the door is open, and what happens? What do you see?
I see her laying with her head in the right hand. The water is running. I don't think the drain is closed, because if it was, it would be going over, right? So the water's like half full. She's submerged partially, but she's also partially not submerged. And one of her legs is kind of sticking up and out a little bit. And it's just extremely awful and doesn't look natural. Obviously, she fell or something happened.
Okay, Shanti, what might have cost her life? What do you think happened? What do you think is her cause of death?
I think that at some point she decided, I'm going to take a shower, and she stepped in and turned the water on like she always does to let it heat up. And that's the point that I think something went wrong. Either she slipped or she fell or she blacked out or something caused her to collapse. And either one foot in the tub reaching to turn it on, the other foot slipping outside, or vice versa. It could have been awkward. It is kind of an awkward decision.
As David continued his narrative, Detectives Sprague and Sharp began to probe its inconsistencies. A key concern was how Shanti's bloodied cheek and bruised eye could possibly result from the minor fall in the tub David claimed happened. The injury pattern didn't align with an accidental fall. Instead, it pointed to repeated, targeted blows, leading investigators to the grim conclusion that Shanti had been beaten to death.
Her injuries to me, David, seem more significant than from a soft tissue fall, more significant than from me tripping and falling and hitting my head and being knocked unconscious. Not only are they more significant than a fall, but they're inconsistent with a fall. It's just not accurate. Shanti did not fall and get those injuries without question. They're much more significant than that, and it's inconsistent with her injuries hitting and striking anything. That is just inaccurate, okay? Her injuries are very severe. Conveniently, you're away for a while and you come back and you find her like this. The issue I'm having with is I absolutely think that she was deceased before you left to go to the park. And I think whatever happened to her happened before you went to the park, okay? Do you know how long it takes someone to get stiff? Okay, I do. Do you know how long it takes for blood to pool when you die?
No, I don't.
I do. We're also very well trained in what injuries look like perimortem, mortem, and postmortem. Okay? So her body's not lying to us.
Of course not.
And neither are her injuries. Okay? So I think that you've told us a significant amount of information. You've been very cooperative, but I also think that you've left some stuff out. And I think you've left some stuff out that is maybe something got out of hand, maybe you didn't mean for it to happen, maybe you got upset, but there's something that happened between the two of you before you left that house. And when you came back and found her, it's pretty evident that she was deceased. Cold, stiff, significant swelling, and a lot of bloating. So whatever happened between 7 and 9:30 to 9:45 is where I need you to be significantly more honest. Now, if there's an explanation, I want to hear it.
I told you everything. It was exactly as I stated. It wasn't, I haven't left one thing out.
Okay. Did you two argue?
No, absolutely not.
Did you fight?
Absolutely not.
Did you harm Shanti in any way?
Absolutely not.
Did you choke her?
Absolutely not.
Did you strangle her?
Without question, no.
Did you beat her?
No.
Did you hit her with anything?
Absolutely not.
When confronted about the blood on the bed frame and how it got there, David casually shrugged it off, claiming it was probably from Shanti's period.
So you had Saturday and Sunday, and there's no issues as far as...
She was at the end of her period, and there, it was messy. It was very messy. That was, other than that, that was...
What do you mean messy?
She was still bleeding.
Okay. Are you saying that blood has got somewhere?
It did get on the bedspread, and it did get on the side of the bed.
Which side of the bed?
Left-hand side, as you face it.
As you face the end of the bed? Where on the left-hand side?
Everywhere. Bedspread, the sheet.
So, is there something covering that up now, or no?
We changed the sheets.
You changed the sheets? Okay. And what day was that?
Monday, dressing to school.
So those have already been washed, or you put them back on the bed, or what happened?
Those are washed.
Those are washed. Are they back in the bed now, or are they folded somewhere?
They're folded, they're brand new stuff.
A new set. Okay. So there shouldn't be blood on the bed now, or is there?
There shouldn't be.
Given the nature and location of the bloodstains, it was clear to investigators that this wasn't something that could be explained away so easily.
We tried to narrow down where he meant we would find blood on the bed. He just kept saying it was everywhere, it was everywhere. That was an indicator to us that we needed to look further on that bed.
If you pull apart that interview and you look at the things that he said, he's trying to cover it up. He's trying to explain it away before we find it.
David's claims of finding Shanti in the bathtub also didn't add up.
It's one of two things today. It was on purpose or it was an accident. You pick. One of the two things happened. She didn't do this to herself, and there was nobody else there. What are we supposed to think? What you're saying doesn't make sense.
I'm saying I don't know what happened.
So when you pulled her out of the tub, you agreed with me that the water came out of the tub. There's not a spot of water on the floor, David. The carpet isn't wet. The carpet isn't wet from where she was pulled out of the bathtub, sopping wet, all the way around to the front of the couch. There's no blood on the carpet. Average person would think if you pull somebody who has been in a tub with long brown hair, who's bleeding in a, what did you call it, rose-colored water in the tub, and you pull her out, water's gonna come splashing out on the floor. It's gonna splash out of the toilet, onto the vanity, onto everything in there. The little brown rug that was pushed off to the side is going to be wet. It's not, because that's not what happened. The evidence does not match what you're saying.
So please help us to understand, because if you maintain what you're saying right now, do you understand that it just looks like you just don't care? You just have no remorse, no concern for what happened to your wife.
We expected not only for her to be soaking wet, the floor should be soaking wet, the carpet should be wet. So if he had just taken her out, why isn't it wet?
As the hours wore on, the grueling interrogation continued. With each new inconsistency that surfaced, detectives steadily turned up the heat. Their questions grew sharper, their tone more direct, chipping away at David's carefully constructed story.
You're an intelligent guy, right? I mean, you obviously had a really good career at 3M, right? And do real estate and sales and now home renovations. You're a bright guy. If somebody was telling this to you, wouldn't you, as an intelligent person, think that something's not right? Something's not adding up here? Because from what you are saying and what we've seen, it's two different things. So we just need to fill in the blanks. How do you explain this woman's head being swollen, her eyes being black and swollen, lacerations on her face where the blood has dried this way, yet she's in a tub supposedly full with water, clumps of hair missing from the back of her head? I don't think by any means that whatever happened today was intentional, was planned, but I know, and you know, that something happened there today that caused this, because it didn't happen from a slip and fall in the bathtub. We can forgive people for accidents, for nearly anything, but what we can't forgive is when somebody maintains that lie and that coldness. We can't forgive them for that. I want you to remember that, because this is going to be, it is already, the evidence is not aligning with what you're telling us.
As they continued questioning David, detectives also tried to zero in on a possible motive. Given the sorry state of the house, they began to wonder if the renovation project itself had played a role in Shanti's murder.
I mean, I can't imagine how stressful it must have been. You know, not living in the home you want to live in, and it's taken 2+ years, 3 years.
But as I said, we didn't really take the main house offline until a year and a half ago. We had all of that space at our disposal. It was a joint decision to go to that depth. We weren't happy that we felt like it wasn't at our control, and we did want to do it. We did want to get everything that we still wanted to do for the budget, but every time we scaled back, we got more and more of what we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sick to death about what happened, but nothing happened today because of there was no animosity whatsoever.
Are you saying that you did not harm her?
I am.
However, David still stuck to his story and maintained his version of events. But the detectives weren't convinced, and they didn't let up. Trained in advanced interrogation methods, they began deploying every tactic at their disposal in an attempt to wear him down. They started with the classic good cop, bad cop routine. One detective took a sympathetic tone, appearing to empathize with David, encouraging him to be honest and positioning themselves as someone who could help.
She rules the roost. She's a pain in the ass. She wants it done her way.
She wants flat ceilings and flat floors.
Okay? She probably set the bill back by God knows how many months because she didn't listen to you.
And bitched about having to live in one room for 18 months.
She bitched about it. Her son told us she bitched about it. His father told us she bitched about it. And she blames you. She has blamed you the entire time. And after 2 or 3 years of hearing her bitch, or 2 years or a year and a half, however long you've been in that house, of hearing her complain every effing day about that house and blaming you, belittling you, forcing you to sleep with the dogs in the garage, treating you like the hired help, take out the trash, clean the pool. She treats you like a landscaper, like the pool boy. She doesn't treat you equal, probably because she's bringing in the money.
The other detective adopted a more confrontational stance, challenging his story, raising their voice, and emphasizing the growing pile of contradictions.
You know, you fake cried for about 7 or 8 hours, say. Not one tear came out of your eyes, not one. Not one. Not on the scene with the officers, not in this room. Not one tear came out of your eyes, not one. There's not a lick of remorse for what you did to this woman, not even a little bit. I'm really starting to believe you wanted her dead. And I'm really starting to believe you planned it, because not a lick of remorse, not even a little. You sat there for the last 2 hours and stared at her picture, and you haven't cried. Not one tear. You're staring at a woman you're telling us you're in love with, and you've done nothing the whole time. I would be under the table in a ball if I was in love with that woman and she was dead. I would be inconsolable. I wouldn't even be able to utter the words or talk to detectives for 6 or 7 hours like you had. You are not remorseful for what happened to her. You could give 2 shits about what happened to Shanti tonight, okay? I told you she was murdered. Murdered. Someone took her life from her. And there's nothing. You can't even fake it. That's how much you could give a shit. You can't even fake it. I know you think your theatrics and your maybe some drama that you've had in your past was good. It was terrible. The officers on scene didn't believe you, and neither do we. You up. That's the end of it. You screwed up. You made a mistake. Whatever it is, I'm starting to believe it wasn't a mistake. I'm starting to believe that David wanted this chick dead. For whatever you might gain, for control, creative control of the house, so you can direct the build. I don't know what your motivation would be, but I know you stand to benefit. I know that the show that's going to happen is now yours, that all the decisions that I make are now yours. The $250,000 you tend to inherit, you can build the house of your dreams, maybe never work again.
They even employed manipulation and tried to create a sense of discomfort and urgency for David. The goal was to make David feel that time was running out, that the window to tell his story on his terms was closing fast.
You're close to her family. I'm sure you're close to her friends. I mean, what do we want these people thinking about you? What do you want your mom to think about you? I mean, we want you to maintain this lie? Because God forbid we paint you out to be some sort of monster. I mean, it's not fair. And she's got to sit through that, and she knows that's not her boy. I don't think that's fair to make you some sort of cold-blooded killer and monster who was out greedy for money. I don't think that's who you are. But those are your choices. You either made a mistake or you're a monster who didn't really care for this woman, who didn't love her, who married her because maybe she had potential to make really good money or had some money, or maybe for the life insurance. Who knows? I mean, that's what people are going to think.
It also became a game of psychological warfare in that interview room. Every move the detectives made was calculated to chip away at David's composure.
I know that you didn't plan this because none of this makes sense. If you had planned this and this had been intentional, this all would have made much more sense and it would have been a lot more difficult for somebody to figure out. But it's so obvious, and that's why I know that it wasn't intentional on your part. And you're not a good liar. You're terrible at it. Because it's not in your nature to be like that. You weren't raised like that. I'm certain that your mother instilled good values in you and did not raise you to lie and to make stuff up. That's why you're terrible at it. It's not a bad thing. And because you know you want to do the right thing. For you and for her. It almost sounds to me like she treated you like you were the help. That's what it sounds like to me. I gotta do the yard. I gotta take care of the pool. I gotta do the work on the house. I gotta clean the pool twice a day. I gotta take care of the dogs. And I'm sleeping in the garage. So it sounds like what the ex said about her being a strong bitch.
They circled back to earlier questions, highlighting inconsistencies, catching him in contradictions, and watching closely for changes in his tone or body language.
I know there's motivation. Is it the accurate motivation? Maybe not. Is it what I'm going to paint you as? Probably. Because there's no more arguments over the house. You have complete creative control. You get the TV show. You get the $250,000. You get it all. And you get to sleep where you want to sleep. You don't have to sleep in the garage with the dogs.
I don't get anything.
You don't have to deal with her son. How do you not? The house is in a trust in your name. You never even filled out the notary paperwork to get her name on it. It's in your name. You understand, you get everything. You don't have to put up with her. You don't have to sleep in the garage with the dogs anymore. On a couch. You don't have to deal with it. She's finally out of your life, just like you wanted. You don't have to listen to it. You don't have to listen to her telling you how she's working her ass. You're not doing shit.
David had begun the questioning by saying how happy he had been with Shanti and how much he loved her. But as the hours passed, that story started to fall apart. After nearly 8 hours of questioning, the detectives no longer believed him. Too many parts of his story didn't match the evidence. His calm, emotionless way of speaking didn't fit with someone who had just lost his wife. To prove he was telling the truth, David even agreed to take a polygraph test. However, by then, it was in the middle of the night, and investigators couldn't find anyone to administer it. As a result, they had to let him go at the end of the interview since he was not under arrest at that time. Knowing that he was a prime suspect, David Tronnes hired his own lawyer and private investigator to begin a separate investigation into who might have killed his wife. His legal team quickly launched a parallel effort, attempting to identify alternative suspects and gather evidence that could challenge the prosecution's narrative. With Shanti's engagement ring missing from the crime scene, they focused on building a case around the possibility of robbery, suggesting that her death may have been the result of a break-in gone wrong. But that theory struggled to hold up against the mounting evidence. As investigators delved deeper into David Tronnes' background, his previous marriage to Carol Tronnes became a significant area of focus, particularly concerning his financial practices. Carol described David as stubborn and deeply controlling when it came to money. During their nearly 14-year marriage in Minnesota, she stated that David handled all of their finances and maintained full control over their accounts. What truly caught investigators off guard was the discovery that despite their divorce in 2013, David and Carol still shared a joint bank account, and that account at times contained as much as $300,000 to $500,000. However, Carol explained to investigators that she had simply forgotten to remove her name from the account and had not used it since their separation. As detectives delved further into David Tronnes' finances, they made another shocking discovery, one that revealed the double life he was living. David had a membership at Club Orlando, a private bathhouse catering to gay men. He visited the club over 80 times in the year following his marriage to Shanti, including on the day of their wedding. Staff at Club Orlando confirmed his frequent visits and stated that he had engaged in activity with other men while there.
My name is Arthur Adams.
We are now at the 7-Eleven. You work here?
Yes.
And you have a second job as well?
Yes.
Where is that?
At Club Orlando. It's a gay men's gym spa.
Is David a member of the club?
Yes.
How many times in the last 18 months do you think you've seen David on average?
Like at least twice a week.
And the last time you saw David at Club Orlando?
Maybe 5 days before the murder.
Do you have any knowledge whether or not David has hooked up or had sex in the club with any man?
Yes. I saw David. He was giving oral to the sky.
My understanding was that you walked in the locker room and caught them. Is that not accurate?
Well, twice. I mean, yeah, in the locker room and then behind the building. Yeah.
2 different men?
I imagine, yes.
Friends and family believe Shanti had no knowledge of David's secret life.
If she knew that was happening, she would have blown a gasket. She would not have continued that relationship.
Another unsettling discovery that the detectives made was the existence of a $350,000 life insurance policy taken out on Shanti, with her husband David named as the sole beneficiary. Later, the detective discovered that David had attempted to transfer $252,000 from Shanti's accounts and secure ownership of their Delaney Park home following her death.
David was definitely planning his exit strategy to leave this entire situation with Shanti's money and no worries behind. And when we learned of that, I made the ultimate decision that we needed to make the arrest.
State records confirmed that in August 2018, just weeks before he was indicted, David established DMJT LLC in an attempt to conceal or redirect assets that legally belonged to Shanti's estate. As their investigation reached its culmination, the motive for Shanti's murder became increasingly clear. David had killed her for monetary gains and to regain control. When Shanti prepared to leave him, he chose to kill her rather than lose control over her and the financial support she provided.
Money, insurance money, money she had invested, money she had gotten from her father to invest.
Between the life insurance and the bank accounts, Dave stood to gain over $1 million of financial control if Shanti were to die.
Detectives also analyzed Shanti's phone, and they found her cell phone showed no activity after 11:25 to 11:30 p.m. on April 23rd.
We know that the last contact that Shanti had was with Jackson at about 8:30 on the night of April 23rd. We know that Shanti's cell phone had not moved from 11:28 p.m. on the 23rd of April until the crime scene technicians collected her phone.
She also did not read or send a single text message on April 24th.
So she had received a text related to work at 6:58 a.m. that morning that she never responded to. Actually, the record shows never read. So that's unusual. Everybody that we talked to said she was a workaholic and very responsive to work texts.
A further analysis of Shanti's phone revealed that it had a built-in step counter. When the step tracker logs were reviewed, they showed that her movements abruptly stopped around 11:25 to 11:30 p.m. on April 23rd.
Shanti had a step tracker on her phone that recorded, her going up and down the stairs. She always had her phone with her. There was no steps tracked of her at all on April 24th. And that doesn't fit with his telling of that day.
After months of investigation that established a strong body of evidence against David Tronnes, a Florida grand jury indicted him on first-degree murder charges on August 29, 2018. He was arrested at his mother's house and taken into custody. He pled not guilty to the charges and was booked into the Orange County Jail, where he was held without bail as he awaited trial. After David's arrest, detectives executed a search warrant at his mother's house and uncovered a critical piece of evidence: Shanti Cooper-Tronnes' missing $15,000 diamond engagement ring. The ring had been absent from Shanti's hand at the crime scene, initially suggesting a robbery. However, with no other valuables missing, investigators had long suspected that the burglary narrative was staged. During his police interrogation, David claimed he did not know the whereabouts of the ring, a statement that aligned with the false impression of a break-in. But the finding of the ring in his mother's home directly contradicted that claim and suggested a deliberate attempt to mislead investigators. But a crucial twist was still to come in the case. Shortly after Shanti's death, detectives had installed a surveillance camera outside the Tronnes residence to monitor who entered and exited the house. This camera quickly proved to be an invaluable piece of evidence. It captured images of private investigators hired by David's original law firm coming and going from the property. When David's lawyer, Robert Mandel, realized the PIs had been recorded, he promptly contacted the prosecutors.
Defense attorney calls my cell phone, says, I've been up all night. I can't sleep. I have evidence that we need to turn over. And my jaw dropped.
I never ever expected that he was going to tell me that he in fact had an item of physical evidence that he had been holding on to for 11 months.
The defense team had acquired bloody sheets from the garage apartment where Shanti was found dead, but had never turned them over to the prosecution.
These sheets were balled up and put into some shelves with other sheets and bedding and towels. In the weeks after the murder, the Orlando Police Department conducted 3 searches. When you look at each photo from the individual searches, the closet in search 1, the sheets are there. Closet in search 2, the sheets are there. In search 3, there's now a missing hole on one of the shelves, identified by the private investigator as where he took the sheets from.
DNA analysis by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement confirmed bloodstains on the bedding matched both David Tronnes and Shanti Cooper-Tronnes. This evidence, coupled with blood on the bed frame, strongly supported the detective's theory that Shanti was attacked in the bedroom, contradicting Tronnes' claim of the bathroom. However, this was not the only additional evidence that emerged.
About 10-12 hours later, the next morning, I got another call from him. And that's when he said, I have one other item that I think we have to turn over.
That item was a green cord. A private investigator had removed it from the house and preserved it in an evidence bag because David was threatening to kill himself. Given that the autopsy had revealed Shanti was strangled, the detectives believed that there was a real possibility that the green cord could be the murder weapon. Once the prosecution obtained the cord, tests were immediately conducted to determine if it was indeed used in the strangulation. Unfortunately, the cord did not have any DNA evidence. However, detectives noted that the cord was not recovered until weeks after Shanti's death, allowing David ample time to clean it. After spending months examining all of the collected evidence, detectives came up with their own theory about when and how Shanti was killed. They concluded the murder happened during the late night or early morning hours of April 24, 2018, while she was in the bedroom. Following the murder, David Tronnes staged the crime scene in an attempt to mislead investigators. He moved Shanti's body from the bedroom to the bathtub in the bathroom to make it appear as though she had died in an accident or from drowning.
This kind of is a theory, but if she's seated on the edge of the bed above where the blood dripped to the slots, when she is removing her right earring, she's looking possibly at David. And maybe they're arguing over the renovation, or maybe, the relationship is ending. But the moment she goes to her left earring, her head would have been turned away from him. And so if she's starting to remove this earring, that's when she takes this blow to the left side of her head. She never saw it coming.
After years of court delays, including extended disputes over David Tronnes' mental competency and his ability to secure legal representation, his trial for the murder of Shanti Cooper-Tronnes finally began on October 12, 2023, more than 5 years after Shanti's death. After a 6-day trial, the jury found David Tronnes guilty of first-degree murder on October 18, 2023. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole and sent to the Florida Department of Corrections.